Good everyone. I hope you're having an amazing day. So today I'm going to talk about database operation. Right, it's very important to understand Salesforce database operation, like insert, uh, delete, update, upsert. Right, we're going to do that using Apex. In your Apex career or in your Apex journey, you will be um, dealing with inserting data to your Salesforce object, updating the data to your Salesforce object, insert or delete, at the same time. So I'm going to also talk about a better way to write insert or update or delete operation. The reason why I want to teach you this, I understand that you guys are Salesforce admins, but at times you might get an opportunity to look at developer code, right? And you can say, look, you're not doing that right, and you can't even pinpoint it, the mistake at times developer makes, because it's always good to get a fresh perspective, right, when someone else looks at the code. That's my point of view, because admins can be a great developer because they comes from a different perspective. So it's very good to have that in place. So yeah, so the first thing first, right, you need to have an org. So I've logged into my org, so let's jump into developer console. So go to this Gearcog icon at the top right hand corner and go to this developer console here. And we're gonna do with execute anonymous window screen, because I'm not gonna work on the classes today, because I wanted to teach you a concept, right? How to do an update or insert operation using an Apex. Okay. So the first thing what we're going to do to create an insert query. Okay, so if you wanted to insert a record, right? Let's work with accounts today. Okay, which is a very common Salesforce object out of box, right? So I mean, you can do this logic for any custom object as well. It works pretty much the same, right? So the first thing we're going to do insert, right? Insert, it's the name itself, right? You can know that when to insert a data. Okay, so when I talk about insert, right, I mean inserting a record to your Salesforce table, right? So in this, which is NS object record. So accounts, right? Accounts is very commonly used object, right? So I wanted to insert an account, say called so Peter account, okay, or any name, okay. So I wanted to demonstrate how to do that. So this will be useful when you're doing an integration work or when you're doing a customization work. Think about a scenario, right? When let's say you are integrating with SAP, right? You're integrating with SAP to your Salesforce. You wanted to bring an account from SAP to your Salesforce, right? So integration pulls the data using an XML or a JSON, whatever, right? And then you wanted to insert that data to your Salesforce table, okay? So the way to do that, I'm just going to mimic that stuff. Let's say I've got an account. So this is our requirement, okay? It's just to make it very clear so that you understand it better. So think about a scenario. I wanted to bring a few accounts information from a third-party system, right? Let's say SAP, okay? Just for the sake of argument, or for that matter, any system you take it, okay? So I wanted to create 3 records. Uh, say I wanted to create Peter one, say let's say Muller one, and you can say Dros, Dro, Drozan one, okay? I mean, different names from different places, right? I mean, so these are the accounts I wanted to create: account one, account one, two, account three. Okay. So I assume that for now that these 3 informations I'm getting using an API. Okay. So I don't want to talk about that part yet, because I will talk about it when we do end-to-end integration with one system. Okay. I will cover that, how to do an integration using a code, but that's a later topic. Okay. So, but this is very important for you to understand. Okay. So let's say in general practice, okay, I wanted to insert Peter record, okay. So the way to do it, so as usual, you have to declare account, which is a data type, okay. Okay, and see ACC, you can name, give a meaningful name, and I do new account, okay. And So, and I can also do ACC. I wanted to access a variable value, that's the name. I will say Peter 1, okay, and I will say insert ACC. Okay, I'll explain to you what I'm doing, right? And so it's good to put under try catch. If you remember, I talked about try catch in my last episode. So if you haven't watched it, I would highly encourage you to check that out, okay? Because it's when you're doing any kind of database operation, right? It's important to capture this under try catch, okay? So this is okay. So all right, let me explain to you what I'm doing. Okay, I just want to tidy it up. Right. So it's very basic. Okay. So I'm creating an account. Right. So the line number 6. Right. It means I'm creating an account object. So account is a data type. ACC is the name of the variable, and I'm assigning a memory using new account. Okay. This is all I'm doing. If you have watched my previous episode about lists and collections, where I've explained how to create a list and assign a memory to a list, right? Exactly what I'm doing to in this case, right? I'm creating an account object, okay, in the name of ACC, right? Now my account ACC is there. Please remember, if you do not do this new account, that means you are pointing ACC to a null value. Means there's no memory assigned to it. When there's no memory assigned to it, you cannot access any fields associated with the account, right? Because you will get a null exception there. Okay. So I've created an ACC variable of type account. Okay. Assign a memory. Now I want to assign Peter1 to a name. Name is a field which belongs to an account. Okay, so if you are not sure about the fields which you wanted to access, right, it's always good to go to Object, Manager. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I wanted to close this. Right. So you go to Object Manager here. Okay, and go to. It's going to take some time. So go to Account. Okay, and go to fields and relationship. Okay, so remember one thing, you always refer the API name, right? This field name. You should not worry about the field label. That you can put whatever name you want, right? If you are accessing any field, okay, in an Apex, you have to consider the API names. So in this case, I'm looking at name, right, which is an API name here. But if you are, let's say, if you wanted to set an active flag, right? So let's look at this active flag here. I wanted to see the value of it. So we can do something like value, so yes and no, okay? So what I wanted to do, I wanted to set two fields, okay? I wanted to set the name, right? I wanted to set the active equals to true, okay? So that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to go here and we will say, so the name is the name, right, which is an API name. But for active, I have to get the API name, so it's active underscore underscore C, and we just say active equal to yes. Okay, I hope that's correct, the field name. But if you're not sure, you can copy it and you can assign it here. Okay, right. So that's pretty much it. And then the line number 11, that's insert. I'm inserting it. So there are two kinds of insert, right? One is the database.insert, where you can specify partial insert. So I'll come to that in a minute. Okay, so let's focus on a very basic thing. Okay, so I do insert ACC, which means I'm inserting a record. Okay, so this will insert a record to your Salesforce object. Okay, so let's run it. Oh, sorry. My bad, spelling mistake. Right, so let's see if we got an error. There is no exception. Okay. Now, how to know that we have something called Peter1, right? It's very simple. You can go to query editor. You can do select. Okay. You can do name from account, order by, last modified date, DSC. Right? I can say limit to, right? So we have Peter1, okay? So that means it's created. So that's all good, right? Because this is exactly what we are after. We wanted to create an account. We wanted to create an account record, right? In which we are able to do that. So now this is fantastic. Now I wanted to do another operation, right? Now I wanted to do a delete operation, okay? Let's say I'm not interested in this account, Peter1. I want to delete it, okay? How to do that? It's pretty straightforward. So what we're gonna do, so we remove it. So we write delete, okay, right? And then put square brackets, okay? Then we say select ID from account where name equals to Peter1. Right, now you must be thinking why this looks a little bit different compared to an account. Well, the thing is, when you talk about inserting a data, inserting means you're creating something, okay? So when you're creating something, you always have to do declare a variable and do new, because you have to assign a memory and then you store the stuff in that memory and you dump into a database, okay? Think about it this way. If you wanted to create something, right, you need to assign a memory, okay? But when you have to delete something, you're deleting something which is already there, right? So you don't have to assign a new memory to delete something, right? You're deleting something which is there already, right? So you're not inventing something new and then deleting it. In this case, I'm deleting an account of name Peter, which is already there. So I don't have to say account ECC equals to new account, because I don't need to create a new memory. Why do you need a new memory? New memory is for something which you wanted to create it and then insert it, okay? Or um, delete. In this case, you don't need it, okay? So let's do delete. Um, all right, okay, so this is, okay. Right, let's look at the, right, and let me look at the execute, okay? Uh, hang on a second, See, the Peter1 is gone, right? Which makes total sense, right? So that's exactly what I was trying to do, right? I wanted to delete a Peter1 from account object, right? And I use delete, so it's gone now, as you can see, right? There's no. So what happens is the reason why, it didn't display it displayed Peter1 before, because it was using it. It didn't get refreshed for whatever reason. So, right. So, right. That's fine. Now, what we're gonna do, another thing, update. Let's say I wanted to update an account. Okay, I wanted to update an account. Let's say, um, let's go back to this one. Let's say, let me go back to. Let's say I wanted to change this name Demovic to Demovic_12. Okay, I wanted to change the name of this account. Right, this is an existing account, and so let's find out if there's more than one. Select name from account where name equals to Demovic. Okay. So we got only one. Okay, so that means it will do the job for us. Okay, so my requirement is I wanted to, for some reason, integration failed. Okay, and the name got truncated or whatever happened. Okay, so this is not the name I want to have in my account. Okay, so I wanted to change Demovic to Demovic_12. So the way to do that, you can use an update query here, right? So what we're going to do, instead of this, okay, we're going to do account ACC equals to. So this is a little bit different to the new insert, because To update a record, right? To update a record. See, it's a mixture of delete and insert, because to update a record, you need to have a record which is already there in your database, right? So you can't update a record which is not there in the database, okay? So that's why I have to get the data first using an Apex query to see select ID, name from account where name equals to demo week, okay, right? And I'm gonna do acc equals to demo, sorry, acc dot name equals to demo week underscore 123, and I'm gonna do update acc. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, if you pay attention, line number 6, I'm fetching an account, right, of name demo week, means there's only one. And just to make sure it's only one, I can put limit 1. So limit will ensure the number of rows that's get returned from the Salesforce query object, right? So in this case, what I'm trying to do, oh, sorry, it has to go inside. Okay, right. So this one will work. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Okay, so pay attention to the query for a second. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm saying to the Salesforce, look, this is a query I'm going to write. Okay, so this is a query I'm going to write. So what I want to do is that return me an S object of type account, which contains the value as follows: the name equals to demo vic. But also make sure that please return one single row. If there are 50 demo wigs, right, for whatever reason, I don't want to bother with them, right, whatsoever. Only wanted to deal with one, okay? That's why I wanted to return ID, name from account, where name equals to this. So this is the record which get returned, okay? So the memory, right, this ACC, right, it will have a memory if it returns a record, right? If it fails to return, so the ACC will be null, okay? It will not contain anything, right? So in this case, I'm taking a risk, but this is not a very good way to write it. So because I'm doing an assumption saying to get me a data, and I assume that the data is there, as you have already seen that we have something called demovic in our database. So I'm querying this account object, and it's returning a S object with the name demovic, assigning to ACC. Then I'm changing the ACC name value to demo underscore, so demovic underscore 123. Okay, and then I'm doing an update. In this case, we are not inserting it; we are doing an update. Okay, so that's why the syntax is this way, right? And as usual, so if something happens, it will fall under try catch. Okay, so under catch block, I mean, it has to you have to put your code in the try block, and then mention catch, so that the catch get triggered when there's an exception, right? So let's go here. There's nothing here, so let's see if I can find something. Oh, sorry, not this, not this. Okay, okay, select name, right? Demo week underscore 123. That's fantastic, right? Because it's been updated. Right. Now I want to talk about a very important topic, which is very important. I mean, I understand that you guys are a Salesforce admin, so you might get a chance, you will get a chance in your company, maybe at a later stage, or you might get a chance to work on a code side, or you might get a chance to review a developer code as a start to understand what they're trying to achieve. Okay, so it's a good opportunity for you guys to understand the code, right? And to understand the best practice around insert, right? We have something called bulk insert, so which is very commonly used in Salesforce. And the bulk, you all know, right? Salesforce is a multi-tenant architecture, right? So what that means is that the resources are shared. Okay, so we have to worry about SOCL limits. Okay, so the SOCL limits plays a very important role. You can't keep on firing, thousands of SOCL limit. It will fail. Okay, so an insert is one of the classic example. Okay, so in this case, what I'm going to do I'm just imitate a problem here. Okay, so I'm gonna create a list a I'm list of string. Okay, and it's gonna do a account list. Okay, I'm doing a very basic. Okay, um, sorry, string. I'm just gonna imitate it. So I'm gonna do, let's say I'm gonna do account list or add. So I'm just gonna do Peter1. I mean, just to make it simple, right? I don't want it to complicate it. Just 3, right? And rows on. So that's all right. Okay, so now I have a collection of names that get returned to me from, let's say, from an integration, and I've stored that name under collection. That's an account list. So now I have account list. Okay. So now what I wanted to do. Okay. So I wanted to create. I wanted to create accounts. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to create accounts to show you how the bulk insert works. Okay, so there are 2 ways you can do it. Okay, I will tell you the faulty way first. So you might see a code something like this: for, okay, so account a is just say account list. Okay, so we're gonna do. Oh, sorry, not this one. Okay, so we just do. No, just because it's a list. Okay, right. Oh, no. So you do something like this account. So we're gonna do something like acc dot name equals to a. Okay, insert a. Right now, look at this piece of a code. All right. So now, when you look at this piece of a code, so you might be thinking, "Oh, this is pretty good, right?" Because you're having a list, and I populated the list with 3 names, and I wanted to create an account for these names. And then I looked at this. All right. Oh, okay. It's great. I'm looping through this list, and I'm creating an account. Right. So I'm creating an account. So which is great. And I'm doing an insert. Okay. Now you'll be thinking 3 records. That's great. Yeah, for 3 it's fine. But think about a scenario. A list might contain thousands of it. Right. Now, if it contains thousands, so this means you're going to fire 1,000 YAML statement inside. And that will fail because it will say circle limiter. Okay, so this is not a good practice to do it. You should not be doing an insert inside a for loop. That's a very bad practice. Now, how to do this? It's very simple. Create a new list. Okay, so list of account. ACC collection. Goes to new. Just copy this one. Oh, come on. Okay, never mind. Right. Right. So account.add. Right. I'll explain to what I'm doing. Just give me a second. Okay. So as you can see from the code, I've created a new list which is called account collection, right? So inside the code, right, inside the for loop, instead of doing an insert, I'm just putting every data, every account into this collection so that the account objects get stored in the collection, right? So in this case, there is, so what happening is we are not doing a DML statement inside this query, inside the for loop, because instead of calling an insert, I'm dumping the account into a list. Okay, so and then once the loops is looping process is completed, I'm doing an insert, and this is just a single DML statement which will do a bulk insert, right? This is called a bulk insert, right? So that's why it's very important. You might hear people talking about bulkification of your code. This is exactly what bulkification of the code means, right? It means that you do a bulk insert or bulk update, right? Or bulk upsert. I'm going to talk about upsert in a second, okay? Don't worry about it. I haven't forgotten about that topic. Okay, so now, so what happens here, right? Instead of doing an insert inside this loop, okay? So you do a collection and then do outside, okay? So let me run this. And so you would see 3 names getting created, right? So let me change it to 3. Right? See, these 3 names got created, right? Fantastic, right? This is exactly what we wanted. Right, now, so if you're an admin, right, for whatever reason, if you had an opportunity to look at, developer code, say a developer is away, and you are given a task to look at the developer code, maybe to do a minor tweak, okay? And if you see a code, something like this, where someone is doing an insert inside the for loop, right, you can see that there's a potential problem. You can raise that with your boss or with your developer whenever he or she is back, okay, from a holiday, to say, look, this is not a right way to do the code. You can't do a bulk insert. Sorry, you can't do an insert inside a for loop because it will hit the DML exception limit, right, or SOCL exception, right? So it's very important that you need to bulkify your code. Okay, so the way I showed you, right, just only one DML statement because this is why it's getting fired, right? So this is the query is getting fired at line number 21. So you won't hit the SOCL query, okay? So in this scenario, okay? All right, this is one way you can do it, right? So it's very important that you bulkify your code, okay? Right, now let's deal with upsert, okay? So upsert means when you can do insert and update at the same time, okay? So let me give you a very simple example. Let's say I wanted to create and update at the same time, okay? So let's say I want to do account A equals to new account, okay, and I'm going to say a dot name equals to Terminator, okay, and we say so stay this code. I mean, don't do anything here. Let's go to another account AU up. All right, so I can say select ID name from account where name equals to Peter1. Okay, because I wanted to change the Peter1 to Peter2. So, and I'll explain to you what I'm doing. Peter2. Okay, right, now you have 2 choices you can do. Okay, you can do something like this. You can do something like that. Okay, you can do something like this, right? It works perfectly fine. Or you can create a separate collection, right? And you can actually do something like this. Account, say insert list, goes to new list. Okay, so yeah, new list. I'm just showing you the stuff you can do, right? So you can do something like that. If it's in a loop, for instance, okay, you can do, you're quite familiar with this one, right? We did this process. We are putting the accounts into a collection, right? And you're doing this, okay? Right, all right. And for this, you can do something like this, list account, right? And you can do update list. Okay, goes to new list account, right? I'll explain to you in a second, okay? Don't worry. So we're gonna do update list, and so we're gonna do update dot add, Yeah, and just going to do AUP. Okay, so you're going to do, so, right. So this one will work fine. This one will work because if you're putting in a collection and you're doing insert and update separate. But I don't want to do this because why should I create a new two collections, right? Instead, what we can do, right? I mean, it will do up. So the line number 10, right? Sorry, not the line number 10, line number 12, right? It will insert this account of name terminator, no problem. And the line number 19 will update Peter 1 to Peter 2, okay? So this is a functionality. In first scenario, we are creating a new account of name terminator. And in the second case, we are updating accounts from name Peter 1 to Peter 2, okay? Uh, that's all good. That's all looks fine to me. Now, I don't want to do this way, right? This is not efficient. So that's where upsert comes into the picture. Upsert is that when you can do update and insert, wherever there's an update, it will do an update. Wherever there's an insert, it will do an insert. Okay, let's do an upsert, okay? So we're gonna do upsert here, okay? And I upsert list. Right. I do not want to create a new list, okay? I don't want to do this here. Okay, I don't want this list as well. Okay, and so I don't want this. Okay, I will remove it. So as you can see, I've created just one collection. Okay, I've typed list, and this is an insert operation here. Okay, and I'm adding to a collection upsert list. Okay, and and line number 12 to line number 12, 13, 14. Right, it's doing a update. Right, and I'm doing an update stuff to, I've added an update stuff to an upsert list. Okay, so this is what the code is doing. Right now, the final thing what we can do upsert. Okay, and so what will happen, right? It will insert the first thing and it will update the second thing. Okay, let's run it and see. Right. So right now, if you look at the Socal or if you look at the database, right, you should find an account with Terminator and you will not find an account with a Peter one. It will be replaced with Peter 2. I mean the name. Okay. So let's look at the debug log to see if there's an error. Okay, there's no error. I'm just going to do to 2. Okay. No, I don't want this one because it's referring to the old cache. Let me close this. Okay, come on. All right. You see Terminator and Peter 2, right? So that's what upsert does. Whenever there is an insert operation, it will do insert. Whenever there is an update operation, it will do update, right? So instead of doing separate insert, separate update in a collection, you can do upsert, right? So it's pretty handy. I mean, I use that many times, right? So I've used that for integration. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to give you a scenario how, before I start, doing this insert, update, and upsert today, because most of the times you will do when you're working with a customization or an integration, point-to-point integration, or a platform events, depends. Okay, so I've done a lot of integration with SAP and other third party, right? So I have a lot of experience on that side. So that's why I'm telling you that how this works. And we're gonna do one integration, right? I wanted to show you how integration work point to point, okay? Code-based integration. So that's something I have in mind to cover using APIs. I don't normally use SOAP because SOAP is an old legacy technology. APIs is something I prefer to use. SOAP is handy. I mean, if you wanted to use, if you have a SOAP call, right, you can actually send the data to a SOAP using workflows. Okay, but that being said, I mean, Salesforce is not encouraging people to use workflow much, but that you can still use workflow because they haven't stopped the support of it. But if I wanted to use a API, right, I prefer to use Process Builder, right? You can invoke an API using a Process Builder or using a flow, right? Um, Using an invocable method. So we're gonna talk about that later, okay? So I know that sounds a bit geeky at this point of time if you have never used this before, because this topic is mostly for admins, right? My main audience are not developers at this time, because this course is mostly for admins. But if you're a developer, you're most welcome to tune in anytime, right? Right. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. So let's do a recap, right? Because I thought it's better to do a recap after every episode, right? So that you understand what I covered. So I talked about insert operation, right? Why insert is necessary when we wanted to do a insert, right? To your insert a record to your database, or in terms of Salesforce, we call S objects, right? Um, so if you wanted to insert a data, right? So you use insert operation, okay? If you wanted to update an information, you use an update, right? If you wanted to do insert or update, right? You're not sure about that, then you use upsert, okay? And if you wanted to delete a record, you use the delete, okay? So this is very commonly used database operation. So there is something called database.insert, which I won't be talking about today, but just to give you a glimpse. So I'm going to show to you next time how to do database.insert. So what happens is, right, let's say in a collection, okay? In a collection, you have thousands of records, okay? So you remember I talked about how to do an, let's go back here. So let's say I have a collection, okay? In a collection, so let's say for example, for loop, okay? So in a for loop, okay? This is just a dummy code, okay? In a for loop, let's say I'm doing insert, say creation of account, okay? Creation of a, come on. Okay. So and you remember, so we're gonna add something list 123 dot add, okay? This is what we're doing, right? Something similar, okay? This is list is something like this, right? List of account. So let's say for a scenario, whatever reason, right? One of the accounts failed, okay? So if you're doing something like insert, right? Insert list to something. So if one of the accounts fails, right? In this case, it will roll back every other insert, okay? So let's say you wanted to insert 1,000 accounts record, and let's say 99 or 99 record or whatever record, or say 2 records are faulty out of thousands, right? And for whatever reason, the insert failed. So if you're doing a normal insert, something like this, right, it will skip all the inserts you've done. It will fail the entire insert operation. So what I meant by that, let's say I want to insert 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 accounts, okay? And out of 6 accounts, say my code is running, right? It's inserted 1, it's inserted 2, it's inserted 3, inserted 4, and now for whatever reason 5 triggered an exception, okay? Insert of 5. So when that happens, it will roll back all the insert, right? Means it will skip the insert of 3. It will not commit the insert to the table. So when you look at the final outcome, you won't see 1, 2, 3, 4 whatsoever because of an exception. Okay, because either it will commit everything or it will not commit at all. That's what the normal insert does. And so, but if you wanted to do a partial insert, let's say, I don't care if the number 5 fails. I still want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my database. Then you should use a partial insert. Okay, that's for that you have to use database.insert. There's a true or false flag, right? So I'm going to talk about that next episode. Okay, very important topic because it's very reliable to use it. Because in most of the scenario, you may not want every insert to fail, right? You may not want either, all or none, okay? You might need partial insert. So it's very important to understand that concept, right? Partial insert or update, okay? So it applies to update as well. Right, so that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today, right? I hope you enjoyed today's topic, right? So this is very important topic. Please pay attention to it when you are practicing, the nitty gritty stuff, because sometimes what happens, right, when you start writing a code, you'll think, oh, this is not important, that's not important. Everything what I covered today is super important, because the reason why it's super important, you will be doing a database operation no matter what, right? If you're doing a customization, you will end up in doing a database operation, okay? So that's why I said this topic is very important. Okay. So pay attention to all the stuff you do when you write a code, right? Like bulkification. That's very important. Okay. Small things makes a lot of difference, right? That's what is very important when you start writing code. Coding is not just, jumping in and start coding. That's not how programming works whatsoever. If you need to think about it, you need to work on the design, then you need to start coding, right? And you need to understand which framework you need to use. So we'll talk about that when it comes to that stage. Okay. For now, I think this is good for today. Right. That being said, greetings and adios from New Zealand. Take care. Bye bye.